Have you ever noticed that the heaviest weight we carry is not the past, but the sudden realization that time is moving faster than we are ready for? If you have ever looked at a parent, really looked at them, and felt a sudden, sharp ache in your chest because they seem just a little more fragile, then you remember, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the way you hold this grief is about to change. It happens so quietly. There is no grand announcement, no warning. You might be visiting for a holiday, or sitting across from them at a quiet Sunday dinner, or simply looking at them through the screen of a video call, and suddenly you see it. You notice the silver in their hair that was not there before. You see the slower rhythm of their steps. You watch the way their hands tremble just slightly when they lift a cup of tea. In that single, fragile moment, the illusion breaks. For most of your life, they were the steady ground beneath your feet. They were the ones who held the answers, the ones who carried the weight of the world, so you did not have to. But now, the roles are quietly reversing. And in the face of this change, a profound, unnameable panic sets in. You want to freeze time. You want to reach out and hold on to the version of them you have always known, terrified of the day when they will no longer be the unbroken foundation of your life. But here is the truth few people want to face. Most of your suffering in this moment is not caused by the fact that they are getting older. It is caused by how fiercely you are fighting it. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that one of the deepest roots of our pain is our attachment to how things used to be. We crave permanence in a universe that is entirely defined by change. We look at our parents and we demand that they stay the same, not because it is possible, but because their changing reminds us of our own lack of control. Imagine standing on the bank of a great, rushing river. The water is beautiful, and you love it dearly. But instead of watching it flow, you step into the current and try to grab the water. You try to hold it still in your bare hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it escapes through your fingers. Your hands ache, your heart races, you are exhausted. But the river does not stop. It cannot stop. It is the very nature of the river to flow. Think about your own life. How often do you find yourself growing frustrated when they forget a detail or ask the same question twice? How often do you carry a heavy, silent guilt because you feel like you are not doing enough, visiting enough, or saving them from the inevitable? That frustration, that guilt, it is just your fear wearing a mask. It is you, standing in the river, trying to hold the water still. Ask yourself, what are you afraid will happen if you accept that they are changing? You do not have to chase what is already leaving. You do not have to wrestle with the current of time. Instead, you can choose a different path. Pause, breathe. Let the sadness rise without letting it consume you. Observe the fear of losing them, and gently remind yourself that fighting the present moment will not buy you more time. It will only steal the time you currently have. You cannot stop the river of time, but you can learn to sit beside it. You can learn to cherish the water as it passes, honoring its beauty exactly as it is right now. Because true peace is not found in forcing the world to stay the same. It is found in making space for the reality of what is. But letting go of that desperate need for control is only the first step. And this is where the next truth begins. 2. Why we fight the current of aging. What if the exhaustion you feel is not just sadness, but the heavy toll of your own resistance? Here is the truth that is hard to hear. When we watch our parents age, we do not just witness it, we actively fight it. We go to war with time itself. Think about how this shows up in your own life. It often disguises itself as extreme care. We buy them vitamins they do not want to take. We suggest new doctors, new routines, new technologies that we insist will make their lives easier. When they refuse, or when they struggle to adapt, we feel a sudden flash of anger or intense frustration. We argue with them over small things. We find ourselves acting almost like the parent, trying to scold them into staying young. But beneath that frustration is a deep, trembling fear. We are trying to control their aging because if we can fix them, we do not have to face the terrifying reality of losing them. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that this resistance is the very definition of suffering. We suffer not just because things change, but because we demand that they remain the same. In Buddhist thought, there is a clear distinction between pain and suffering. The pain of watching a loved one grow frail is natural. It is the price of deep love. But the suffering is the extra weight we add. It is the internal voice shouting, "This should not be happening. I must stop it." Imagine trying to hold back the tide of the ocean with your bare hands. The waves crash against your chest. The salt water stings your eyes, and your muscles burn with the effort of standing firm. You believe that if you push hard enough, you can keep the water at bay. But the tide is governed by the moon and the earth, not by your strength. Your resistance does not stop the ocean. It only ensures that you will eventually collapse in your own exhaustion. We do this every time our heart races when they do not answer the phone by the third ring. We do this every time we silently critique how slowly they walk across the room. We are pushing against the tide, exhausting ourselves, missing the beautiful, simple reality of the present moment because we are so focused on a future we cannot control. Ask yourself right now, when you try to change their habits or fix their aging, whose comfort are you really fighting for? Are you truly helping them? Or are you desperately trying to soothe your own anxiety about the future? Is this thought bringing you peace or feeding your fear? You do not need to be their savior against time. You only need to be their child, walking beside them. Pause. Breathe. The next time you feel that surge of panic or the urge to fix them, just notice it. Do not judge it. Observe the fear rising in your chest. Acknowledge it, and then gently let it pass. Stop trying to force the tide to recede. Do your part, then release the outcome. Let them be who they are today. Let life meet you where you are, because when you stop fighting the current, you finally have the energy to truly be with them. But to stop fighting, we must first deeply understand the nature of the water itself. And this is where the next truth begins. 3. The Buddhist truth of impermanence. What if the very thing that brings you grief is the only reason life has any beauty at all? Here is a truth that goes against everything we are taught. Aging is not a mistake. We live in a world that treats getting older as a failure, a tragic flaw in the design of life. We look at our aging parents and feel a profound sense of loss, mourning the youth, the strength, and the independence that is slowly slipping away. We replay old memories like a movie in our minds, remembering family vacations from 20 years ago, the way the childhood house used to feel loud and full, the effortless way they used to carry us, protect us, and fix whatever was broken. And when we compare those vibrant memories to the quiet, fragile reality of today, our hearts break. We believe that because it is changing, something has gone terribly wrong. But Buddhist wisdom teaches a deeply different reality. It introduces us to the profound truth of impermanence. In Buddhist thought, impermanence is not a punishment. It is the fundamental law of the universe. Everything that rises must fall. Every morning must surrender to the night. To demand that a human life remain frozen at its peak is to demand that a flower never bloom and fall, or that a beautiful song never reach its final chord. Imagine a single candle burning softly in a quiet, dark room. The flame is warm, beautiful, and comforting. But the only reason the candle can give light is because the wax is slowly melting away. If the wax never melted, there would be no flame. The burning down of the candle is not a tragedy. It is the very process of giving light. Your parents' lives are that candle, the energy, the years, the endless acts of love they poured into you and into the world that was their light. And the fragility you see in them now is simply the physical evidence of how brightly they burned. Yet, we struggle to accept this. We look at old photographs and feel a desperate ache in our chest. We want to go back. We feel emotionally exhausted trying to reconcile the strong, unshakable figures of our childhood with the gentle, aging souls sitting across from us now. We are so busy, mourning the wax that we forget to sit by the warmth of the flame that is still burning. Think about your own life. Ask yourself, are you missing the beauty of who they are today because you are too busy grieving who they used to be? What if you stopped seeing their aging as a loss and started seeing it as the natural, sacred completion of their journey? Pause. Breathe. The next time you look at them and feel that sharp sting of time passing, do not look away. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. Observe the thought without following it into despair. Silently acknowledge the change. Tell yourself, things are changing, and that is okay. You do not need to hold on to the past. Let the memory be a memory, and let the present be the present. Honor the light they still have left, because when you finally embrace the truth that nothing lasts forever, every single moment you have left together becomes infinitely more precious. But stepping into this present moment often reveals a silent, heavy burden we carry within ourselves. And this is where the next truth begins. 4. Releasing the guilt of not doing enough. Have you ever noticed that no matter how much love you give, a quiet, heavy voice still whispers that you are falling short? Here is the truth that weighs down so many hearts. Guilt is often just love that does not know what to do with its own helplessness. We carry an invisible, crushing burden when it comes to our aging parents. You visit when you can. You call on your way home from work. You help manage their home. You listen to their repeated stories, and you try to keep them safe. Yet, when you lie awake at night in the quiet dark, the guilt creeps in. You feel guilty for living far away. You feel guilty for having your own life, your own children, your own busy schedule. You feel a profound, aching inadequacy, because deep down, you know you cannot save them from the one thing that is hurting them: time. Buddhist wisdom teaches us a vital lesson about the limits of our control and the illusion of taking on what is not ours to carry. In Buddhist thought, we are reminded that every single soul has its own journey, its own unfolding, and its own suffering. We often confuse compassion with control. We secretly believe that if we just tried harder, sacrificed more, or abandoned our own peace, we could shield our parents from the realities of old age. But true compassion is not about carrying another person's burden. It is about walking beside them as they carry their own. Imagine trying to shield a great, ancient tree from a winter storm. You stand beside it, arms outstretched, desperately trying to block the freezing rain and the harsh wind. You are shivering, you are exhausted, and you are completely failing. The truth is, that tree has deep roots. It has weathered countless seasons long before you were even a seed. Your task was never to stop the wind. Your task is simply to stand with the tree, offering your presence, knowing you cannot control the weather. Connect this to your own life. How much of your emotional exhaustion comes from trying to block the wind? You juggle the demands of your career, your own family, and your deep desire to protect your parents. When you cannot be in two places at once, you punish yourself. You believe that your inability to fix their decline is a personal failure, but this is a heavy, impossible standard. Ask yourself, are you confusing love with the impossible task of saving them from life itself? What would happen if you accepted that your best, even when it feels small, is completely enough? Pause, breathe. Let the feeling of inadequacy rise in your chest without making it your truth. Observe the guilt and realize it is only there because you care so deeply. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be present. Do your part with a sincere heart, and then consciously release the heavy burden of the outcome. Love is not measured by your ability to fix the unfixable. It is measured by your willingness to show up exactly as you are, with whatever you have to give. But even as we drop the heavy stones of guilt, we often find another deeply buried emotion waiting beneath. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. Grieving the parent who is still here. There is a strange, heavy kind of sorrow that almost no one prepares you for. What happens when you find yourself mourning someone who is still sitting right across the table from you? Here is the truth that feels almost too painful to speak aloud. Much of the pain of watching a parent age is a premature grief. We are mourning a loss that has not yet fully happened. You sit with them in the living room, listening to a story they have already told a dozen times. You look at their hands, thinner now, skin like delicate paper, and in that quiet space, a profound loneliness washes over you. You are grieving the sharp, unstoppable force they used to be. You are grieving the protector, the advisor, the one who always knew exactly what to say when your world was falling apart. They are still here, breathing, speaking, existing, but the version of them that anchored your childhood is gone. Buddhist wisdom teaches us about the danger of clinging to a fixed image of reality. We suffer because we create a mental picture of who our loved ones are, and we demand that they never stray from that frame. In Buddhist thought, the source of our deepest ache is not that things change, but that we live in the past, while our physical bodies remain in the present. When you sit with your aging parent but your mind is desperately searching for the parent of 20 years ago, you are splitting yourself in two. You are abandoning the living person in front of you to spend time with a memory. Imagine watching the sky at the very end of the day. The bright, vibrant, blinding blue of noon has passed. The sun is lowering, and the sky is painted in the soft, fading colors of twilight. If you stand there staring into the horizon, weeping because the midday sun is gone, you will completely miss the quiet, breathtaking beauty of the dusk. The twilight is fragile. It does not last long, but it has a gentle, peaceful grace that the noon could never possess. Think about your own life. You carry the stress of your career, the exhaustion of modern living, the endless demands of the world. Sometimes you just want to call them and be told that everything will be okay, just like when you were young, when they cannot offer that anymore, when they are the ones needing comfort. It feels like the ground has vanished. You feel emotionally stranded. Ask yourself, are you looking at the parent who is actually here? Or are you staring at the ghost of who they used to be? Are you crying for the noon sun while the beautiful dusk is quietly slipping away unnoticed? You do not have to abandon your grief, but you must not let it blind you to the present. Pause. Breathe. Bring yourself back into the room. Look at them exactly as they are right now. Let the sorrow rise, but do not let it build a wall between you and the person sitting in front of you. Grief is natural, but missing the final chapters of someone's life because you are endlessly rereading the beginning is a tragedy. Stay here. Be present for the twilight, because honoring the person they are today requires letting go of the person they were yesterday. But releasing our grip on the past is often the hardest battle of all. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. The illusion of holding on to the past. What if the hardest part of watching them age is not the physical change, but the invisible script in your mind that says things should be different? Here is the truth we rarely admit. We are deeply, stubbornly addicted to our memories. We all carry a mental museum of the past. You remember the vibrant, chaotic holidays they used to host so effortlessly. You remember the loud dinners, the endless energy, the way they used to drive for hours just to help you move into a new apartment, or fix a broken door. Now, you are the one hosting. You are the one driving. You are the one fixing what is broken. And every time a new holiday arrives or a quiet weekend passes, there is a sharp, silent ache. We desperately try to recreate the past. We try to force the present moment to match a memory, believing that if we can just keep the old traditions exactly the same, time will somehow stop moving. Buddhist wisdom teaches that this clinging is a profound source of suffering. In Buddhist thought, we suffer because we attach our happiness to a specific, frozen version of reality. When that reality naturally dissolves, as all things in this universe eventually, must we refuse to let it go. We mistakenly believe that if we let go of the past, we are somehow losing the love that existed within it. But non-attachment is not about forgetting. It is not about turning cold or unfeeling. It is about allowing life to move forward, without dragging the heavy weight of yesterday along with you. Imagine a beautiful wooden boat moving down a winding river. The journey has been long, and the scenery has been breathtaking. But instead of letting the boat glide naturally into the new, quieter waters ahead, you have thrown a heavy iron anchor off the back, desperately hoping to stay in the rushing rapids of yesterday. The river is still pulling the boat forward, because the river never stops. But the anchor is dragging violently against the rocky riverbed. The boat shakes. The wood splinters. The journey becomes agonizing and terrifying. The pain you feel in the boat is not caused by the new, quiet water. The pain is caused entirely by the anchor. We drop this heavy anchor in our lives every single day. We drop it when we demand that family gatherings feel exactly the way they did 20 years ago, and then feel quietly disappointed when everyone is simply too tired. We drop it when we get frustrated that our parents can no longer keep up with the fast, demanding pace of our modern lives. We want them to fit seamlessly into our busy schedules while expecting them to act with the limitless energy of our youth. Think about your own life. What old expectations are you still dragging behind you? What are you afraid will happen if you finally stop? Comparing today to yesterday? Is this anchor keeping you safe, or is it destroying the fragile beauty of the present moment? Stop pulling on the rope, pause, breathe. Let the profound feeling of nostalgia rise without letting it trap you in an illusion. You do not have to drag the past into the present to make this moment meaningful. The love is still there, even if the container has changed. Pull up the anchor. Let the boat drift quietly into the softer waters. Because peace is not found in perfectly recreating what was. It is found in gently embracing what is. But to truly embrace the present, we must learn a completely new way of connecting. And this is where the next truth begins. 7. Meeting them where they are today. What if the deepest act of love is not trying to pull them into your fast-paced world, but gently choosing to step into their quiet one? Here is the truth about how we live today. We are always running. We are driven by calendars, notifications, endless errands, and the heavy pressure to do more in less time. And without realizing it, we carry this frantic, exhausting energy right into the living room when we visit our aging parents. We expect conversations to be efficient. We try to teach them how to use new phones or navigate complicated technology. And when they look confused, we sigh. We rush their stories. We subtly check the time. We feel a strange, bubbling irritation because they are moving at a rhythm that feels almost unbearably slow compared to the frantic speed of our own lives. We want them to catch up. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound art of deep presence. In Buddhist thought, suffering arises when we impose our own conditions on reality. We demand that the world match our speed. But true mindfulness is the practice of meeting reality exactly as it is, without asking it to change. It is abandoning the arrogance of our own tempo to truly listen to the rhythm of another person. Imagine you are playing a beautiful piece of music as a duet. For years, you and your partner played at a fast, sweeping, energetic tempo. But one day, the other musician naturally begins to slow down. The notes become softer. The spaces between the chords grow longer. If you stubbornly keep playing at your old frantic speed, the music turns into a chaotic, painful noise. You will feel frustrated, and they will feel terribly lost. But if you stop forcing your rhythm, if you quiet your own hands, listen to their new tempo, and softly match their pace, a completely new song emerges. A slower song, a quieter song, but one that is deeply, breathtakingly beautiful. Think about your own visits with them. Are you still trying to play the fast song? When you sit beside them, is your mind racing through the emails you have not answered and the tasks waiting for you at home? Are you physically in the room, but mentally miles away, silently annoyed that this moment is not moving faster? Ask yourself, what would happen if you simply let the frantic rush of the world stop at their front door? You do not need to bring your stress into their quiet space. Pause, breathe, leave the urgency behind. When they tell a story you have heard a dozen times before, do not rush to the ending. Let the words unfold. When they walk slowly down the hallway, soften your stride to match theirs. Stop demanding that they inhabit your hurried world, and allow yourself the profound grace of resting in theirs. Let the music slow down, because when you finally match their quiet pace, you discover a connection deeper than any you have ever known. But finding this true connection requires us to look at their physical decline, not as a tragedy, but as something else entirely. And this is where the next truth begins. 8. The beauty hidden in fragility. What if the very physical weakness that breaks your heart is actually the deepest form of grace? Here is the truth that our modern world completely misunderstands. We are taught to be terrified of fragility. We live in a culture that worships youth, endless energy, and unbroken strength. We spend our entire lives building walls, accumulating power, and hiding any sign of weakness. So, when we look at our parents and see that their once strong bodies are growing frail, we feel a deep, uncomfortable panic. We see their trembling hands, their cautious, unsteady steps, and their softening voices, and we silently label it as a tragedy. We mistake their physical decline for a loss of dignity. We sometimes even look away, because their fragility strips away our illusions and forces us to face the terrifying reality of our own inevitable fading. But Buddhist wisdom offers a profoundly different lens. In Buddhist thought, fragility is not a failure, and fading is not a flaw. It is the natural, sacred softening of the human experience. As the physical body weakens, the heavy armor we have worn our entire lives begins to fall away. What is left is a raw, pure vulnerability. We are reminded to look at the delicate, transient nature of life, not with pity, but with a deep, quiet reverence. The beauty of a thing is not found in its permanence, but in its passing. Imagine walking through a quiet forest in the late autumn. The trees have lost their vibrant, forceful green leaves. The heavy, protective canopy is gone. What remains are the bare, weathered branches stretching quietly against the open gray sky. A mind trained only to value the heat of summer would look at those bare trees and call them broken, sad, or dying. But if you truly look, you see a stark, breathtaking majesty. The tree is not trying to be green anymore. It has peacefully surrendered its leaves to the earth. And without the heavy foliage blocking the sky, the light of the sun can finally reach the forest floor. The tree's true architecture, shaped by decades of storms and seasons, is beautifully exposed. Think about your own life. You are exhausted by the constant pressure to be strong, to perform, to never show a single crack to the world. Your parents carried that same heavy armor for decades. They had to be unshakably strong to raise you, to survive, to navigate a difficult and demanding world. The fragility you see in them now is the quiet shedding of that heavy armor. The leaves are falling, and the profound, quiet architecture of their soul is simply being revealed. Ask yourself, are you looking at their aging with pity or with profound reverence? Are you missing the deep, quiet dignity of their winter because you are stubbornly demanding that they remain in the summer of their youth? Is your fear of weakness blinding you to the sacred beauty of what is happening right in front of you? You do not have to fix their fragility. You do not have to turn your eyes away. Pause, breathe. The next time you sit across from them, really look at their hands. See the worn lines, the delicate skin, the quiet tremor. Look at those hands not as broken things, but as sacred things. Let the feeling of reverence rise in your chest without fear, because true love does not only celebrate the blooming flower, it honors the falling petal. It sits quietly as the season turns. But as we sit in this profound quiet, we must face the final and most beautiful surrender. And this is where the final truth begins. What if the end of a chapter is not the end of the essence? We began this journey by looking at the quiet, breathless shock of time passing, the sudden realization that the strong hands that once held you are now growing fragile. The panic that rushes in when you see the people who anchored your world slowly fading into the autumn of their lives. You have felt the heavy ache of wanting to freeze time. You have carried the exhaustion of anticipating a grief that has not yet arrived. But as we have uncovered, trying to stop the river from flowing only drowns you. Here is the final, most beautiful truth you must remember. Forms change. Bodies age. Minds may drift, and voices may soften. But the love they have poured into you is entirely untouched by time. It does not wrinkle. It does not weaken. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that nothing real is ever truly lost. It simply transforms. Imagine a candle burning quietly in a dark room. Eventually, the wax melts away. The wick burns down to nothing. The physical flame disappears from your sight. But the heat that the flame created, the light that it cast on the walls, and the warmth that filled the room, that energy is not destroyed. It has simply merged with the air around you. The same is true for the people we love. Their sacrifices, their silent worries, their laughter, and the way they shaped your heart, that warmth has already entered your atmosphere. It is blooming in you right now. It will live on in how you comfort a friend, in the stories you pass down, and in the quiet strength you find on your hardest days. You are the living continuation of their journey. Think about your own life right now. Are you mourning them while they are still breathing? Are you so worried about the day they will leave that you are absent from the day they are here? Stop. Breathe. Let the tension fall from your shoulders. You do not have to hold on so tightly to keep love alive. Your tight grip does not slow down the clock. It only crushes the fragile beauty of this exact moment. You are allowed to release the heavy burden of needing to save them from aging. You cannot save them from the natural turning of the world, but you can sit with them in the sunlight of today. When you look at them next, do not look through the dark lens of loss. Look at them with profound, overwhelming gratitude. Meet them exactly where they are. If they are quiet, share the silence. If they are tired, offer your calm. You are now the anchor. There is a sacred, quiet honor in returning the grace they once gave to you. Because peace is not found in stopping the clock. Peace is found in walking hand in hand with time, trusting that even when the sun finally sets, the warmth of the day remains deeply held in the earth. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. Let life meet you where you are.